Hey, it's Victoria, and today we are talking about the emotional changes that happened for me, at least, and maybe that could happen for you um, as I transitioned with different hormones running in my body, and obviously the psychological impact of those emotions, and what they were like before and what they are like now. So, pre-transition. I was a funny person. I was pretty outgoing, um, reasonably loud, and all those things. I also had a pretty shy side to my personality. Um, Emotionally, I would say I was pretty closed off. Um, Never cried, that's for sure. I think I actually prided myself on only crying once or something like that in my life pre-transition. I mean, obviously in adulthood because kids cry all the time, but as an adult. So I was pretty closed off. I mean, obviously I still, loved people and had fun and got sad and got mad and all of those things. But it's like a dulled version of those emotions. I think about like smacking a pan against a metal object and the sound it makes. And now imagine that same pan, except it's got pillows on both sides with a rope wrapped around it, right? And then you hit that metal pole with the pan that's covered in pillows, and you just don't get that same sound. You don't get the same effect. You don't get the same reverberations. None of those things. So that was my life pre-transition. Now that was probably because of testosterone. It was probably because of most of it was probably because of my closing myself off to those emotions, not allowing myself to feel them, and the societal pressure on perceived men, at least, and men, to not show their emotions and how they are feminine and weak and all that bullshit that's just not true, when it's actually very much the opposite. People who allow their emotions out and people who are honest with their emotions are much braver, actually, than the other way around, and a much more complete person as well. So, definitely the psychological effects, definitely the testosterone, those things stopped me from showing who I was and showing the emotions that I had. Um, Now, transition happens, and what does that mean? Well, at the beginning, there was no testosterone differences. I was still um, mainly being run by testosterone, but initially just the freedom to actually express myself and talk and be myself. All of a sudden, the ability to cry was cathartic. I remember how much I enjoyed crying when I first came out. I would put on songs that I knew would get an emotion out of me, and I would put them on and I would play them over and over and over again. And I was like, am I some sick fuck who likes to cry? But actually, it was very much the opposite. It was the cathartic part wasn't the crying. The cathartic part was the allowing myself to actually feel something, because I had had this dulled pillow covered pan and no emotions, and my body and my mind and my psyche and my soul were screaming for feel something, for fuck's sakes. And so I finally got to feel an emotion for the first time in all of its glory. And that was freedom that I had never experienced before. Um, and then the hormones start working. And then you get to have estrogen running in your body and not testosterone. And now it wasn't me hitting a pan against a piece of metal. It was literally me getting to scream into a megaphone in the biggest opera instead of that in front of that ginormous thing that makes this amazing amount of echo and vibration and sound and just the loudness that I was allowed to feel. Um, all of a sudden, I was ramped up in the best of ways. I felt joy like I never felt before. I felt love like when I fell in love with that girl over there that's watching my take. And I felt, wow, I'm in love with somebody. And so much of that is the right person. So much of that is the right person. So much of that is me allowing myself to actually feel something. And obviously, those things all come together in a bunch of different ways. But I finally was able to feel something and feel real sadness and real joy and real love. And so my emotions were so loud. And there's a thing that comes with emotional maturity, the ability to feel something, but also the ability to not control it, but the ability to embrace it, the ability to feel real love and feel real sadness and actually not run away from that emotion, but actually run towards it. And I think my emotional maturity was something that took so many years to happen, to be able to go from such a closed person to such an open person, to go from such a person who never let their emotions come out to someone that actually really loves it. She makes fun of me because we're watching Love is Blind or some reality dating show or something like a commercial, and sometimes I'll just start crying because it's so something. It elicits an emotion in me. A couple of days ago, we were talking about my grandmother came up in a conversation, and I just started crying. And Madison's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I just miss her." I'm getting emotional. Okay, anyways, before I get emotional, it's the ability to embrace those emotions now that I find maybe the most affirming in so many ways, to be able to actually be myself, to actually feel love and to feel joy and to feel all these wonderful emotions that I had closed myself off from as a protection mechanism. Of course, I understand. I didn't allow myself to have those emotions pre-transition because I was brainwashed by a society that said that those were not good. And it's the biggest lie. That's where all the best things are. I live in a world of like logic and reasoning, but my favorite place is the emotions. I rest in logic. I sit in reasoning, but goddamn, do I party in emotions? It's such a difference to actually feel something. Um, it has been one of the most rewarding parts of my transition, actually, to actually be able to feel. And of course, I'm crying. Anyways, love you all.